Hello, good afternoon. Thank you. Thank you. The house is full. I'm super happy to introduce to you a filmmaker, a Mexican filmmaker today, who has made over the last few years several films that were very much intriguing festival programmers and audiences worldwide. He just premiered his last film, Dreams, or his latest film, Dreams, here in competition at Berlinale. And I'm also very excited that this director will be interviewed by another Mexican director who's also represented in the festival at the Panorama with his film Olmo. So they too is gonna engage in a conversation about breaking the rules. Please welcome with me Michel Franco and Fernando Eimbcke.
Well, thank you very much for being here. It's a pleasure to be here in this talk with Michel. We know from a long time ago, I don't know, maybe 25 years, something like that. We started making short films. Do you remember that? And I want to ask you, and we share a lot of experiences, but I would like to ask you if at this moment in your career, you would like, because you shoot a lot feature films, if you have some interest in doing a short film right now.
Okay, well, hi everyone, and thanks for accepting doing this talk together. Like you said, we've known each other for 25 years. We were making a lot of short films around the year 2000. And I would be terrified to make a short film now. I remember very well that period because I was obsessed with how to make a good short film. I didn't go to film school, so I felt that it all relied on making a good short film, and I was looking at short films obsessively and trying to figure out what's the ideal structure for one. But then when in 2008, I shot my first film, Daniel and Ana. And for years, I was trying to think only on feature films, and I don't think I could go back to the short film format without being really scared of it. Yeah.
And you said that you didn't go to film school. Where you learn about filmmaking?
I'm self-taught. I didn't go to film school. Because you remember very well, and on those times there were, if I'm not mistaken, like 5 films were shot in Mexico every year, or 8 movies. Now we shoot in Mexico 220,000 movies. So it grew up very quickly and in a very good way. But back then there were only 2 schools, and to enter the school you had to pass like a test that took 6 months, and it was like a humiliating process, everyone said, and they would favor people that had already studied something else that were not so young. So I said, who has time for this? And I always had a big trouble with authority. I don't like authority. So to go to get humiliated and to explain why I want to make what I want to make, I thought I'll just try to make short films. So I learned, it was the DVD era. So I would look for DVDs with good additional, with commentaries of the director and all that. I discovered Robert Bresson and his famous book, The Notes on the Cinematographer, and that became like a Bible that I still carry with me. I just learned, and as a rule, I said I will never buy a book by some intellectual explaining cinema. I only read Lynch by Lynch, Scorsese by Scorsese, and
Cassavetes on Cassavetes.
Yes. Of course, the famous Tarkovsky book, Sculpting in Time. But I try to never go into the intellectual side of film and to always try to understand what works with a sophisticated audience, but, audience still.
Because, you were talking about this moment when we were doing like 8 films per year in Mexico City. In Mexico. and I did Dog Season in 2004, and Después de Lucia was on...
I first shot Daniel Enan in 2009.
Yeah, of course.
And after Lucia was 2012.
Yeah, okay.
Uh,
Okay, so I have some notes here. I want some- Okay, there's something that really, because we share the same producer, Erendira Núñez, no? And she told me about that you shoot in chronological order. And why?
So, the answer is because I didn't go to film school. I went, and I guess that's the first thing that in film school they tell you it's impossible. I remember when I shot my first movie, I told to the producer, and it's the only movie where I'm not the main producer. After that, I said, I have to do the films the way I want. In that first movie, I said, I want to shoot like at least 7 weeks or 8, and I want to shoot in chronological order. And I was told, no way, that's impossible, that's not how films are done. You focus on directing and I'll produce it. And I was miserable throughout the shooting. And the results were decent enough for the film to get to Cannes, and it was fine, you know, I'm proud of the film. But when I did After Lucia, I produced it for a fraction of the budget, and still, and I did shot in chronological order and all. I remember once the owner of the equipment, when we were shooting April's Daughters, he told me, really, you're gonna send the trucks and the equipment back and forth to Puerto Vallarta to shoot in chronological? And I said, I don't know how to do it any other way. I need the actors to build with me scene by scene, and also I need to reshoot. I developed a system of my own without meaning to. When I shot After Lucia, because I had no money, I hired less people, I edited myself, I had no continuity person. I was the editor, but I had someone operating the system on set. And that way, there was no production designer, because I had no money. So how do you bring down costs? Just don't hire all these people. Yeah, but I'm blessed I didn't go to film school, because I probably never would have enjoyed this freedom. Like, ignorance is bliss. Yeah. But then when I shot Chronic in the States with $5 million, it was decent in Los Angeles with the unions and all, I still said, no, I don't want all these things. I still want to keep my freedom and shoot the way I'm learning to shoot. And actors find it fascinating to shoot in chronological order.
You rewrite in the process of the script?
During the shooting?
During the shooting.
Because I'm shooting in chronological order and I have no script and no video assist, I don't use a video assist, I just stand next to the cinematographer. But what we do is we take the material immediately to the editor. Now I have an excellent editor on set always. And because most of my movies, I don't cut within a scene, everything is shot, they're wonders.
One shot. Mm-hmm.
So we quickly go to the editor. This system that we have, the workflow is very efficient. So we see the material put together. And because it's chronological, you can really see at the end of the first week, the first 10 minutes. Yep. So I write additional scenes if I feel that I skipped something or something is not working. But I also don't shoot. If I feel that a scene is not needed, I don't shoot it.
Okay.
And the actors and people are telling me, like, protect yourself or cover yourself or just follow the script. And I say, what for, you know? You're building the film and it's just a movie, just go for it. And I like playing on set. But now Jessica Chastain, for example, if she was here, she would say, we follow the script religiously, you know? She always defends the script.
Mm-hmm. It's really interesting, and I learned a lot from Michel. I remember when we worked together, and I said, I want to learn from you how to shoot a film per year, and I'm near to that. But it's very, very interesting how you develop your system, because I work in a very different way. Like I shoot not in chronological order. Actually, it's like, okay, let's start from the middle, and like, yes, okay, perfect. And I don't want to see the material so early, so I wait, for for the editor to work in the film. But it's like there are some things that I'm changing. Like in this process, I'm asking myself, should I need a video assist? I don't know.
I hate
Like
the video assist. I really hate
Why?
it
Why?
because then everybody's on set looking at TV instead of looking. You know, when you see the making of a Godard movie, or just you have Raúl Cotard, the cinematographer, just on a stool with a camera, you know, doing this, and Godard smoking a cigarette next to him, and that's the shooting. And now we have like the problem is not only the video assist, is chairs around it and snacks, and so it becomes like a show. And you also need people to bring those chairs and snacks, and so it's yeah.
And it could be depressing because our latest film, Olmo, where they told me you need to have like the video assist, no? There was like a lot of monitors in the set, and no one cares about it. There were like empty places, like because it was empty, and it was super depressing because the people, they are there in the film, but they don't need to see all the time that, no?
No, it's a strange dynamic. I on one hand I hate authority and I hate rules and I like doing what I want, and on the other hand I like imposing my rules, like in a dictatorship. So there are many rules like no video assist, no phones on set, even if the crew tells me, but we use the phone to work, and there's some people of the crew of Dreams and Memory and the production design. Now I work with really good production designers, of course. Alfredo is sitting on the audience. But I like... No continuity is also very good because the continuity person makes and sorry if there's one sitting in the room, but it makes every head of department lazy because they all go to this person and they say, where are we in the story? I'm like, you are responsible. Also, there are no sites. I hate sites. Bring your script and know where we're shooting. Anyway, it's chronological, so it's just turn the page, you know. And because I shoot in chronological order, there's always a chance to reshoot a lot. So what you end up seeing in a movie of mine, at least 20 or 30% of it is reshoots, without paying any additional money, of course, without spending. Because you're always going back to certain locations. So, for example, and my production designer is sitting here. Sometimes we favor choosing a good location that we don't have to touch anything, move a painting, anything, so we can keep it the way it is, and that way I can reshoot if we have to. And nobody's ever watching a movie unless it's a Wes Anderson or an Almodovar movie. And you never watch a Cassavetes movie saying, the movie would have been much better if that wall would have been blue, you know? Yeah. Like, who's thinking that? Yeah.
And then in the shooting process, shooting list. You don't use a shooting list. You go...
Again, it's very strange because since pretty much every scene is one shot, then no. When we did New Order, I don't know if some of you have seen New Order, that was different. We did had a shooting or a very clear idea of what certain scenes needed because like if you're following an envelope of money on a wedding and it's passing hands, then you have to know what you're doing. But my normal day of shooting is, let's say on this movie Dreams that maybe some of you watched, or Memory, Jessica and Peter. Jessica arrives with the other actor on set. Good morning. They are still in their pants or, before they go to makeup and wardrobe. I tell them, and we didn't rehearse at all, but we've spoke about the script for months. I tell them, show me what you would do, like, action. And they haven't talked about, among them about what they would do, but they figure it out. If I see they're doing something correct, often surprises me, but correct, then I call the cinematographer and I said, how does that look to you? Great, if the camera is here, or we can do a small movement. So we decide on that, and then they go to wardrobe and makeup. That's normally very fast. The cinematographer put a couple of lights and we shoot. But I never do it the other way around. I never tell actors, you hit this mark and you do it. And that's why they like working with me.
You work with Jessica, and you work with Tim
Roth.
Tim Roth, and you repeat with them. So you, during the shooting of the films, do you thought about those stories with those actors to create a character, beginning with them? Yes, about the next.
With Jessica, yes. When we were shooting Memory in New York, on a lunch break, I, without planning on it, started telling her about dreams. And she told me, yes, let's do it.
Okay.
So it was clear that we were going to do that. With Tim, when I was 10 years ago, well, we shot with Tim Chronic in 2014, I was still very afraid of making movies. I found the courage to push through it, and I was making a film every 2-3 years. But it was only on the year 2019 that I said, I'm going to make 5 movies in the next 5 years. And my reasoning for that was that a filmmaker can never complain that the situation's not going well, or you're not respected, or you don't have an audience. If you come and go every 5 years, I told myself. And also because, let's talk about great filmmakers. What's the difference?
About what? About what?
Great filmmakers. The difference between Bergman and Dreyer. I think Dreyer, like Ordet and Day of Wrath and Gertrude, they're up there with the best of Bergman. But because Carl Dreyer made like, I don't know, not the 50 movies, not the huge body of work of Bergman, then less people remember him. Or if, and of course there's Tarkovsky that made only 5 and he's a genius. But what I'm saying is if the Beatles would have done 3 albums, pick the best 3 or 4 albums, nobody would be talking about the Beatles. We talk about the Beatles because they made like 16 albums if you throw the White Album as 2 and the Past Masters. You know, and Woody Allen, who's not talked about anymore, but I do, he made 50 movies, you know. And so on. I believe in a body of work. So I said, if I do 5 movies in the next 5 years, I failed. It took me 7 years, but okay. Then I'm building an audience. And also, I remember when I was young and I was looking, especially the Godard movies, and then the Fassbinder movies that I adored. Fassbinder, again, a good example of a huge body of work. I used to think, how did Godard arrive to this brilliant solution of doing this dolly around and then this crazy camera movement? And only later I understood, because he was shooting 2 movies a year. So you get bored if you're Godard, and you think you're playful, because you're not gonna make a champ contre champ, and you know, it's boring. And I think Fassbinder also, he was making 7 movies a year until he died at 37. So
yeah, because to make a film is scary. It's huge. The production, the actor, everything. So it's really scary, and you can be like freezed, no, into what should I do? I want to ask you one question. You did this Daniela Nana as your first film, and what about that experience? About that first film? Do you like it?
No.
What? Okay.
I mean, I never saw the film again. I never watch a movie of mine again, because I find that very strange, a director sitting to watch his work. But the experience of shooting was terrible. I'm proud of a couple of things that I did there that I was telling the directors of Talents yesterday about. For example, when I realized that the only 2 good actors in the film were Daniel and Anna, the brother and sister, but everyone surrounding them was a miscast, to not say bad actors, but you know, my poor choices. So then I told the cinematographer, let's shoot only Daniel and Anna and have all the actors out of the frame. So those radical decisions, I think, helped me make a more interesting film and bought me freedom, because also, almost as a rule, I don't use music on my movies. It's a rule that I break often, but it's a rule. And yeah, rules are made to be broken. My main thing is never do something as a director. Don't move the camera, don't use music, don't cut to a close-up if there's not a reason to do it. And that's Bresson, of course. But you were talking about Daniel and Anna. It was a terrifying experience. And when I went to screen it at Cannes, I was shitting my pants, crying all the time, like inside, not outside, thankfully. Feeling that I was like saying to myself, they can look through you. You're fake. You know, you're a bullshit artist. You're not a real director. So it was only when I did After Lucia, 3 years later, that I wrote, directed, produced, shot 9 weeks, chronological order, edited the film, everything, that I gained confidence to start making more movies. And that's also when I started producing movies for other directors.
What changed between Daniel and Ana and Después de Lucia, After Lucia?
Well, in Después de Lucia, I made sure that all the actors were good, not just the lead actors. And I shot it with, instead of 35 millimeters, which when I shot Daniel and Ana seemed like a luxury, and it was. But instead of that, because I had no money, I shot with a Canon 7D camera, which is a photo camera, very cheap. And my cinematographer did miracles, and we didn't move the camera, so you cannot tell that it's a cheap camera. Thank you. And we shot it for a tiny budget, and it got me to Uncertain Regard, and I got the top award. And Tim Roth, when we were having some whiskeys after the ceremony, asked me, "What's your next movie?" I said, it's a weird movie about a caregiver, a nurse, and she's going from one dying patient to the next, because my grandmother had just died, so it was inspired on her caregiver. Sounds like a disaster movie, right? Like the uncommercial. And Tim told me, change it into a man and I'll do it. So that's where I gained my confidence. I owe a lot to Tim Roth.
Okay. And you also produced the film 400 Miles?
600 miles.
600 miles.
Gabriel will be upset if you take to a few miles off. That was screened here and got the Best First Feature Award, yeah. And now we're producing together Fernando's film Olmo is screening here, as you already know, and my movie. So I think this is good. Like again, when you see the old-timers in the 60s, 70s, and they were having a laugh and making films together and all that, you know? Like don't take it so seriously, and at the same time take it, as a religion. It's like a contradiction there.
But at the same time, it's like to giving you the chance to make mistakes, no?
Yeah, of course.
Because it's like, no, I don't want to do something wrong. So it's like to make mistakes.
I'll tell you another story of Daniel and Ana. When I sat and watched the film with my cinematographer, Chuy Chavez, he said, it's really good, it's better than I expected, but there's the movie has no close-ups. We really kept the camera at a distance. I was obsessed with Haneke at the time. And at that time, I was really like trying to be him or Lars von Trier, or I don't know what. Now I don't talk to my cinematographer or actors on those terms but only when I started to make one movie after the next, I shook that off, But so my cinematographer told me, there's one thing missing in Daniel and Ana. We should make a big close-up of Daniel before he does what he does in the movie. When you see it, you will remember this conversation if you watch it. I said, brilliant. And I've always been a producer on like a doer. So I called the equipment house and I said, if I bring the actor to you, and I had short-ends, 35 millimeter short-ends. So I realized it wouldn't cost $1. And the producer, my friend, answers me, no, in this production company that was established by his grandfather 60 years before and had just passed away, we never have done a reshoot. And I'm like, who gives a fuck? I'm just trying to make my movie better, and it won't cost $1. And he was opposed to it because for him, reshoot is mistake.
Yes.
And I adore Woody Allen because he, how he works, he or used to work. He would shoot a film in 7 weeks, And if you're an actor on a Woody Allen film, you had to be on hold for a month, even though you're not getting paid, and not change your haircut or anything, because you would do 2 weeks of reshoots. He knew beforehand that there are reshoots. Reshoots are amazing because you know exactly what you're doing. Of course we're gonna make mistakes. Like, and again, Bresson saying, don't execute, you know, don't approach cinema like executing. You gotta create. So now I embrace reshoots. I love them. And I keep telling all the crew, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I'm lost. And you're gonna have to bear with me and help me find what I need. So I don't pretend to know what I don't know.
Have you ever thought in shooting on celluloid, 16 millimeter, 35 millimeters?
I would have to do it with another cinematographer because Yves Cape, that I shot 7 films with, he's opposed to, he says he really thinks it's dead and he really thinks that digital is way better because, and he shot the first 5 Bruno Dumont movies, like he knows all about La Humanité and, you know, he's great on, but yeah, he's opposed to it. And I think I wouldn't. I mean, it would be a nice game because, but I would like to do it like Kieślowski did the Decalogue, that you only have material for 2 takes, you know? Like if I go there, I would go there in that way, you know? Yeah.
Did it like that? Kieślowski?
Yeah, because Poland in the 80s, they didn't have money at all, you know, no zlotys. So yeah.
And with Después de Lucía, you produced the film. You found the money.
Yeah.
How?
A tiny bit of money. Like we did it really with no money. But what's funny is that then people wanted to buy it off from me once it was done. And why I gained so much confidence is because after the award in Cannes, in Mexico, it sold 1 million tickets. Because the movie, in a way, deals with bullying, and it became like like I made the film to fight bullying or something. That's, of course, not the case. But on interviews, you say, yes, of course, that's the point of the film, you know. I have a social conscience. Of course not, you're just trying to make a movie, you know. But how I found that small amount of money, it was so small that it wasn't so hard, but I did have other producers, friends of mine, Marco Polo, and you know, that they helped me. Also, I shot, it was December, and restaurants that were not working because it's the end of the year, you know, like I found many things for free, so to speak, you know. But I still keep it very simple. If I shoot in New York Memory, I shoot with Jessica Chastain on the subway with no permits. And it's Jessica who tells me, don't be a fool and ask for a permit. Like, come on, you know, we're New Yorkers. We had no trailers. So Jessica is in a green room waiting. So I still work with the smallest budget I can. And I try that every buck goes on screen, not on bullshit that surrounds the shooting. And the beauty of not having trailers is not only the spirit of the film, but if again I made the mistake I told everyone, this is the shot, you know, we're shooting on this, and then with the cinematographer would say, oh, this one is better. Yeah, but the vehicles are there. What vehicles? It's 2 small vans, you know, not 10 trucks.
Yeah. Oof. Because it's like a very difficult for people who are here that they want to make like that first film, and it's not easy. It's very, very difficult to find the money, how to get there. And then there's like an industry that asks you to work with those tools, with the big camera, with a big equipment, everything. So
I think the only solution is to not listen to the industry and to not need. I think all these film schools and the industry, they create, you don't need things, and they create the need for certain things. And I think I mean, when you see again how Godard or Cassavetes were shooting back in the day, it was so more simple, so much. So technology should help us be lighter, not heavier. But I think there are many people in the industry that they want to participate. They want to convince you that you need them. And you don't need them. I mean, you can be a lot more freer. And I think also, if you're a first or second time filmmaker and you're going to places pitching, I hate pitching. It's like the worst thing, you know. It's because pitching is like being an entertainer or something, you know. And being a filmmaker is not about pitching. Or you know, you should just make a goddamn movie.
Yeah, and it's exhausting, no? To do the pitch, and it's like you tell the story so much time that it's like I don't want to tell it. I don't want to do it. No,
just find a camera and shoot it. Yeah. And when I shot After Lucia, I was chasing Daniel Jimenez Cacho, who's now a friend like of everyone. You know, he's the best Mexican actor, many would say. He simply ignored me. You know, he wouldn't read the script. And now I thank him so much because thanks to that, I met this huge actor, Hernan Mendoza, that was only doing stage work at the time. He'd never shot a movie before. And now he's working a lot. After we did After Lucia, he became a film actor. So every time a door is closed and you don't get that additional $1 million or whatever, it might be for the best.
But you should...
Although I'd rather take the $1 million, of course.
You shoot después de Lucia in 7D, no? Canon, es una 7D? Una...
7D Canon, yeah.
But it's scary because we thought that digital will make things more easy. But it's like you see like I don't know, the Alexa and the monitors, and the Alexa, it begins to get very,
but
very
you know why?
big,
But you know why? Because the crew, the focus puller, and all the crew that's next to the cinematographer, they own that equipment, so they rent it to the film. So they create the need to have an additional monitor that is costing money, that is making everything heavier. So you need to be, if you're a filmmaker, disciplined and say, no, it's going to be lighter, and that's it. When I did After Lucia, my producer at the time that ended up just bearing with me, we were looking for $1.5 million, $1.5 million. At the end, we did it for 20% of that amount or something like that, or even less. But the way I made the budget at the end, I just took a pen and a notebook, and I said, okay, for example, equipment. For how much would my friend Chuy Chavez, the cinematographer, do the whole film? I don't care how many weeks. And his equipment. So I raised the phone and I told him, my friend, if I pay you X amount, you and your equipment, he said, yes, dealt with, you know. Keep it simple, keep it simple. And also, yeah, thanks, yeah. Also, people want to make movies, you know. Yeah. People want to work. But if every time we need to express ourselves through film, we need to gather like $2 million at least, then there's no fun. If you're a musician, you just call your mates, you get together, bass, guitar, whatever, and you play. Film should be like that.
Yeah, like Cassavetes films, no? Like we just need like the actors and a camera. And it's funny because a 35 or a 16 millimeters camera is very easy to work, to operate. There's not like things like the digital and the DIT, and all the process is bigger. It's amazing, and it's
yes. They made it more complicated.
And then they have like we will talk about that, but in the platforms, no, the TV series, there are tons of cameras, no, there are a lot of cameras covering everything, and there's the coverage, and then someone will edit that scenes. And again,
there are no rules, because when Lars von Trier used 100 cameras on Dancer in the Dark, you say, okay, fantastic.
Yeah, of course.
But when it's TV and the director or producers are just putting 3 cameras to get more options and to cover themselves, you know, come on, what are you doing? Like a director, you cannot write a book with 3 pens at the same time, you know. And a camera is like a pen. You're writing with the camera, like Bresson used to say, you know. Yeah. So you're just writing with the camera. You cannot have 3 pens at the same time.
Yeah, And no music in your films. That's a very Bressonian. Bresson used to say that music was like an alcohol or drugs. Very radical, but it's a.
It's funny because now I try to use music and I don't know how to. It's also hard to make good use of music. But often films are what's not achieved by the script, the actors, or the emotions, you put music and it's a lubricant for emotions. I like using music, like on Memory, I use a wider shade of pale of Procol Harum like 5 times throughout the film, and it becomes a character. Or New Order, I open with Shostakovich, and then there's no more music. So if there's a very clear use of music, but if you're just calling a guy to put score throughout the whole film, and it's a producer behind that, they're just killing the voice. The problem with film is very simple. And like Tobias told me, is it okay to promote this talk with that thing where I said that this is a dictatorship? Of course it's a dictatorship. But also a painter, when he's working, it's a dictatorship. Whatever he dictates to his hand, that's a painting. Like, a movie should only be about what you want to do. End of story. It cannot, you use everyone's brains and talent, and then you steal the credit for that, and that's it. And everyone in the crew and the actors should have the same film in their head and should work for you and with you, and that's it.
Yeah, it's not like let's take a vote, no? To say it like, okay, where we should put the camera? Okay, who votes for here and who votes for there?
It's impossible, and also because the making a film is the sum of thousands of decisions that you make. So the decisions cannot be made sometimes by some people, and one person has to be responsible for the decisions because you direct with your gut, not even with your brains. So you cannot combine that. A film has to be a personal means of expression. And also I'm sick, and I shouldn't say this, but here I go. I'm so tired of this political correctness and all this, like who can make a good film with all these things, You need to be a decent human being, end of story, as a director or as any person in the street. So try not to be offensive, of course, be a decent person. But to make a good film and at the same time fix the world, like come on, it's already very hard to make a good movie. No, yeah, I was saying no applause.
But why the decision not to use music? Yeah. For you, not the producer. Why?
I'll tell you where it all started. Daniel and Ana is no music, no camera movements, white shots, because at the time where only 7 movies were done in Mexico, and one of the few films that I adored was Temporada de Patos, your first film, because it was something different. It was a proof that we could do something good. But I was basically saying, how can I do a film that is not a telenovela? Because in Mexico it was telenovelas, melodramas on TV. And you have to work with actors that do that. Yeah. So I said, if I don't use music, if I don't cut, if I'm far away, if I tell the story in a straightforward way, then it won't be a telenovela, And I kept going on that direction.
But at this moment, you know that you're not afraid to do a telenovela. Why not to use music at this moment?
Well, if you see the first many films of Buñuel, they had music. Even what he shot in Mexico, Nazarín and all those. And then his French period, no music at all. I think it's a lot more interesting. But again, if there's a specific need for music on one specific moment, yes. But as a default, just putting music on top of everything that could be better, I don't know what that means. It usually only kills the film instead of lifting it. Yeah.
It creates like a different meaning, no, for the scene, for what is happening. In the film in Olmo, we use music, and it was really surprising how the scene changed with the music. Sometimes not in the better way.
It's a big responsibility.
It's very delicate, no?
Yeah. Like you're saying, the music affects and changes everything. So yeah. It's a big responsibility. Of course, when I see Fellini or Kubrick, you cannot imagine. I'm not against music, but then it has to be like that, or like Almodovar, or or like I use the whiter shade of pale. I think in Olmo it works most of the time, but maybe a couple you still see your own film and say maybe that one would have been better without. I don't know.
Yeah. Because I did this film Olmo in the United States with all the unions, so I have like the completely different experience, and it was hard. It was hard to have like a camera operator, that there were no movements in the film, so the camera operator just pushed the button in all the film.
No,
so it was like there was like one camera movement.
The state's insane. The unions in the states, it's insane. And again, of course, I'm all for unions in everything in the world. I'm all for the people and for protecting. But come on, for artists trying to make a film, you cannot impose those things, because then you kill the art.
Yeah, you need to decide in which kind of film you will use the union, not like at this moment with.
But for example, when I shot Dreams in San Francisco, it is a union film, because San Francisco is so small that you can't get away like I did. Memory in New York was non-union, but in San Francisco you can't get away with it. So you negotiate, and there are ways to negotiate certain things. When they see that you don't actually have that much money, they leave you alone, because what they want is money. Yeah, it's not a matter of principles, it's a matter of money. Yeah.
You do also the promotion and the sales of a film.
No, Match Factory does that.
Okay.
No.
Okay,
No,
but you're really involved on that.
I used to be more involved, and I think I damaged the process. So now I try to stay away from it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Wait. What do you think about the TV series, the platforms?
For me, they're non-existent. Like I never seen a TV series other than Curb Your Enthusiasm. Like for me, TV is to have a laugh or to watch football, But like I really, I mean it. I was running away from telenovelas. Succession or whatever, they're telenovelas, It's a drama where you have a cliffhanger, or I don't know what they call it, at the end of every episode, where you're like, what's going to happen next? And then you press play to the next. And I did watch Mad Men because I had fun with it many years ago. But after 35 hours of Mad Men, I was mad myself. I was like... And I felt I could have seen like 10 movies of Fassbinder, and that would have changed me as a person. And instead, I just saw a melodrama that took from me and gave me nothing in return. Not because Mad Men is not good, because all TV is the same. And of course, then we can talk about when Bergman did TV and Kieślowski, but that's different. Or David Lynch. Of course, I watched Twin Peaks. Also the latest one, or Lars von Trier's Kingdom, that's genius, but that's different.
Yeah, now it's like a formula, no? It's like a plot. It's like a first act in the first episode, a very long second act, and a very disappointing third act, no?
And
it's like a...
Yeah. And I never watch them, but also I think we are very similar in what way, Fernando, that we both try in our movies to say the more we can, to explore the more with less resources. Again, Bresson, the capacity to make the most out of my resources decreases when the resources are more, no? Something like that. In Spanish, I can make it better. So less. So the challenge to put, and my movies are rarely above 100 minutes. Sometimes they were 85 minutes, and I love that. Because like Bresson movies, or, how much can you say making choices? Like I like the Cold War and Ida from Pawlikowski. know what you're saying and just say it. Don't expand it to 3 hours. Those movies nowadays that are 3 hours long, it's like, Jesus Christ, just edit the thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Because simplicity helps you, to go deeper.
And then still many people think, no, I won't be respected, if it's not 3 hours. I won't be taken by my colleagues as a serious filmmaker. I never cared about that, honestly.
No.
And the audience, you never say, the film was great, I wish it was an hour longer. I never heard that.
No.
You always hear the opposite. It was good, could be 20 minutes less.
Okay, I would like to invite the audience for any questions that you have. So there's a question there. There's two. There's a lot. So should I give him the
Is there a microphone going
Is there a
around or
microphone
just shouting?
Can I?
Yeah, shout the first one.
Hello. Mr. Franco, you were talking about the camera as a pen, and since you didn't go to film school, there is this term by Alexander Astruc from the French New Wave, the camera stylo, and I want to ask if that's a coincidence, you saying the camera as a pen and not going to, let's say, film theory school. And the second sub-question is about less is more, what you were talking about. And could we say that you can be considered a modernist director, because less is more is actually one of the characteristics of modernism. Yeah.
Well, I'm very bad with labels. I'm very bad with genres in film. I know you're not talking about that, but I'm very bad with labels, and I'm definitely never self-analyzing, and I never watched again a film of mine, and I think it's very dangerous to overanalyze for a director his own work. We have to be very analytical and responsible about everything we put on screen, but then you move on, and that's also why I like making a film every year. I try to, because then I don't stop, I don't pause to think. I don't think like in terms of a career or anything like that. I just think where I want to be next year, in what country, what I want to shoot, who I want to be surrounded with, and what's the best I can do. And then I jump on that. Less is more for sure. And yes, I Bresson and the French New Wave afterwards, and everything they wrote and said, it's like a Bible. The only game I teased my cinematographer into working with, and he replied with such a serious face that I got scared. I told him we should make a Dogma 95 movie. Like everyone left that behind. We should make one. And he said, yes, let's do it. And I was like, oh. But I want to do it, I want to impose on ourselves those 10 or 12 rules. I think it was 10 rules that they had. Yeah. Yeah, the Mexicans making a mess. I like this. Bring them, pasen el mezcal.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm here. How do you manage to write so many scripts also? Like, do you have a writing routine to get away from producing every day to make a film almost every year?
That's the real task and the real question. I was talking to a director friend, a very successful, one of these stars, and he makes like films that are $100 million, and I told him, come on, it's easy because I make them for a fraction of your. He told me, shut up, you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about writing a script a year. That's what's hard. It's not if it's 5 millions or 20 millions, and it's a lifestyle. Of course, at the beginning of my career, I was terrorized about writing. First short films, and then how to write the first film, and then, like I said, when I went to Cannes, I thought they can see through you, you're not real. And now I can't stop writing. I never went to therapy, so I put all my fears and traumas on screen. And now I enjoy it and I need it. And after making a film, I'm exhausted and I'm tired of people, but I want to be on my own writing, because then I turn off the phone and I don't have social media or any of the and I stop socializing and I'm just writing, and it's a privilege to write, but also I love to read. And it's incredible how many filmmakers don't read books. Like like even the most basic Dostoevsky, like have you read Crime and Punishment? Like, no, it's too boring and too long. Like, and you're trying to write a film if you like, yeah. But it's a lifestyle. I'm always thinking about the writing. And honestly, too, I don't like making movies, because shooting a movie is horrible. Mm-hmm. You're out in the cold, you wake up early, you didn't get to, it's horrible. For me, what I love is that the ideas I had and I put on paper, we're now trying to communicate on screen. That's the beauty. My ideas going on to kind of a real concrete form. But shooting, like saying good morning everyone and action, who likes that? Yeah.
There's one there. Is there? The microphone is there.
Thank you both. It's been a really refreshing talk, to be honest, after this week. I've had about more than 30 meetings at EFM trying to find co-producers for my movie, and every single discussion I've had, I was like, I'm making it with 6 to 8 people. That's the only way I've ever learned how to make films.
Making what, sorry?
Making the film with 6 to 8 people, maximum, crew. Okay. That's the only way that I've made films before. I also didn't go to film school. The film's budget's 200,000 euros, and all of them are like, it's impossible. How do you navigate those discussions? And probably there's a lot of people in this room that are trying to make their first debut features. How do you convince co-producers that it's definitely possible, and that's the only way that you know how to do it?
I was so happy during COVID, because they would tell you, you cannot shoot, there cannot be more than 15 people. I was perfect. You don't need more than 15 people, And Daniel, after Lucia, because I didn't have money, it was like 20 people or so. You don't need so much people to make a film. You really don't. You just need the actors and the right place. Of course, if you're making a Wes Anderson movie, you need an army. And I love Wes Anderson's films. But if you're doing this thing that I guess you're doing, and I did many times, you don't need all those people. And also even big actors like Jessica and Tim, when they realize that we're doing this compact thing, they don't want a trailer. They want nothing. They want to have fun. And what they hate is waiting, because they always say making a film is waiting. When you are a small number of people, a reduced number of people, there's no waiting. Like, everything goes fast. Yeah.
Can I add something?
So yeah, do it.
Michel?
Go ahead.
Can I add something with the writing process? Because I know that Michel, he wakes up very early in the morning to write. So I do the same, and it's the most important exercise, to write. And to write not just a script, to write a biography, to write I don't know, what are you thinking about the film? Because you develop this sense of storytelling. So when you go with the actress or the actor, you are like in the mood of storytelling. So write. I don't know what it means to be a film director. I don't know what is the job of a film director.
And if that day you cannot write, you read. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And yes, sorry I didn't reply so much about the writing, but yes, I wake up at 5 a.m. and I write for an hour, and then I take a long nap, and then I write for another hour, then I hit the gym or something. I know it doesn't show, but I do. And at noon I'm done with writing. But the most important rule at noon is to not socialize, and to not say, because I'm done writing, I can go fix the world. No, for this month that I'm writing, because it took me 6 months to do an outline, but writing, I write 6 pages a day. If I'm done at noon, I don't go out to do other stuff. I save the energy for tomorrow. Also, an interesting rule is I have to write 5 pages a day, but I don't allow myself to write more than 5, so I can keep my appetite for tomorrow. So if I feel like Dostoevsky today, you know, hold your horses. Tomorrow's another writing day, and I wake up wanting to write. And another rule is that I write 5 pages a day, and I don't write Saturday, Sunday, so that makes 25 pages a day. So I don't allow myself to go back and read, not only not change, but read. I don't go back until the month is done, and I have those 100 or 90 pages, then I read it. Because I learned the hard way that writing is rewriting and going back and going back and going back, and then you never finish. If you finish writing a full draft, then you understand where you're supposed to go, and then you can throw it away and start all over again. But I don't believe in rewriting the first 20 pages forever. Yeah.
There's 2 over there, please. In the middle.
Okay, thanks for having me. So I want to ask about AI. What do you think about AI? Do you think it's going to play a big role in the film industry in the future? Because nowadays AI can generate like, non-real person and can act like a real human. Do you think it's going to give advantage or disadvantage for actors? And should we as an actor or as a free artist, should we be scared or aware of this? What do you think about that?
I'm not a very, I don't know much about technology, if we want to call AI technology. But the couple of uses that I know are already happening or close to happening are very, like I love them. Like, for example, I know that instead of ADR, if the thing has enough hours of the actor doing that part, you can do without the ADR session. Fantastic, you know, I love AI. If as a script writer, AI can give me 10 options of how to solve a story, why not? I'll use it if one of the 10 options is good, and if not, I'll dismiss them all. I think it's just a tool that will make our lives easier, and if you're dumb, it will make you lose yourself even more. So I think it's like anything else at the end, but I might be wrong and short-sighted.
Sorry. So since we're talking about so much about your writing, I was wondering if you could, like, where does it start for you? Like, it's the same, it's like a character, a scene, a moment? I just like to know about that.
Again, Bergman, Woody Allen, Fassbinder. When I was young, I never split writing and directing. For me, it was always the same thing. And it's the ongoing process of writing. Whenever I'm done with a film, I always know what the next film is. And I have like 5, 7 ideas, let's say, average. So I take the one that keeps bothering me, or that, you know, that I can't get rid of, and keeps coming back to my mind. So I use that one. Am I answering the question?
Sort of. I mean, I guess so. I was just like wondering if it's like maybe a character that you think about, or it's like a scene that interests you, and then you.
Un personaje o es una escena.
It's different every time. I think the best, like, it's different every time. For example, the chronic that I did with Tim Roth is because I was, the very first day that my grandmother fell a brain stroke, and I went to visit her, and suddenly there was this stranger, this woman that seemed shy, who we couldn't communicate with her because of the brain stroke. She couldn't really speak. Nevertheless, the nurse, caregiver, could understand, so we were already communicating through her. And then with a lot of authority, even though she was in our universe, she said, "Get out of the room, please. She needs to rest, and I'm gonna change her." And I turned to look to my father, a little confused, and we both said, yes. We went out, and we were outside of the room. I said, "This is a story, like this is a film, you know. There's a film here." because who is this woman that we're trusting so much? And what is her life? When my grandmother dies, because after a brain stroke, you hope that the patient won't be there forever because it's hell. She would just go to the next patient. So I invited her for a coffee outside, and we talked. And that was the beginning of that. But maybe it was also a way of protecting myself from the horrible experience I was facing. So I would say, because, for example, once I was kidnapped for a few hours, express kidnapped, it's called in Mexico. And I remember at the beginning of the kidnap, I said, look, I was only 20 years old. I said, maybe this will become your first movie. And in a way, Daniel and Anna, there's a kidnapping involved. So it's a defense mechanism too, you know? Yeah.
First of all, thank you very much for your cinema. I love it. I'm here. Sorry. Yes. Gracias, eres un chingón. Te amo.
Gracias, muchas
now,
gracias.
passing to the questions. You talk a lot about the theoreticals, so talk about Bresson, talk about how you only shoot once, and I have this idea that I think that is there, but you haven't talked about it, and it's theater. Because in a sense, technically you're like portraying your actors to do it once, barely. So that's almost like presenting on stage. So I don't know if theater influenced you in some other way. And another question I have is, what do you think about The Brutalist? Because it only cost 10 million, but it's a 3-hour movie. Thank you.
I'll start talking about Fassbinder, who, if I'm not mistaken, used to say, I direct theater like cinema and cinema like theater, whatever that means. I don't like theater so much, but because I didn't have the habit to go to the theater. But of course I do like it a lot when it's good. When it's bad, it's so embarrassing that these people on stage are doing something that's not good. So when it's good, it's magical, but the amount of times you have to go and gamble, it's I don't know if it's worth it. My actors often say it's like theater. If they see it that way, okay. What's good about the oneers is that they don't have to match anything, because there's no close-up, no cut, champ contre champ or whatever. There's whatever they do on that take might be the scene. So maybe that takes. I guess for the actors it does resemble theater. For me, they should be real, and I shouldn't see the effort at all. I haven't seen The Brutalist. It's not just the easy answer. I was shooting another film that I'm not going to talk about, so I've been very busy. Yeah. Thank you. Y gracias.
Here.
Hi, my name is James Newton. I'm an actor, and I would like to know when acting, I feel like the most compelling choices often are those that not necessarily go hand in hand with like a moral code or like social norms. And I would like to know...
With social laws?
Social norms,
No.
like rules,
norms.
how we behave to each
But
other.
what do you mean? I don't get it.
I would like to know how, like when you... No, I'm trying to... I guess, is there like good and bad, evil and good? Like, for instance, in Dreams, I found it so interesting how like savior and villain always seemed to flip over and had like these things. And I wonder how you feel about these social norms when doing art, when creating as a writer-director, where these rules don't apply.
I think I know what you mean, and I'll answer by saying that I didn't want Rupert Friend in the film because I didn't know much about him, and they told me this fantastic British actor wants to do this small role, and he's very famous and he's great, and I was puzzled. Why would such a big actor and all this want a small part? Let's just take a local actor. I'm an idiot. Thankfully, Rupert is wise and liked my movies, and he said yes to all the, like flew from New York and did it. He gave all that ambiguity to the character. It's not my direction. I think the directing actors is 90% casting. If you choose the right people, they will do it. And then it's up to you to make it good. And of course, on the page, it has to be interesting and contain both. Maybe the only movie of mine that is like some characters are pure evil, it's New Order, because it's a dystopian movie, you know. But other than that, I love it when people that love each other, and most of my films are about families, and people that love each other end up damaging so much each other out of love. That's more interesting than evil. Yeah.
Thank you.
So talking about dreams, how the whole idea started? I mean,
The idea for Dreams I had for many years, because as a Mexican, I've always been sensitive to what our fellow Mexicans are enduring in the States and how ill-treated they are, although they are caring with their economy, you know, they are making America great every fucking day. And instead of say thank you, they're being accused of, you know, like, yeah. So, yeah. And not only Mexicans, of course, immigrants from everywhere, but as a Mexican, I've always been sensitive to it. But something was not interesting enough, or the time was not good enough, and suddenly, because I wanted to shoot with Jessica, I said, oh, that idea about a romance through, you know, with the border in between, I told her if we change it to a woman instead of a man. She said yes. And then I met the dancer by chance. I saw him on a show for 10,000 people, and I thought, wow, if I include that layer on the film, my immigrant will be a lot more interesting, more particular. And that's how it happened. And then I understood the end of the film that I'm not going to spoil now, but it relies on the ballet world. Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks.
Hello. I was wondering a bit about the casting process, like, because now you've mentioned Jessica and Tim, also loving how you're like on first name basis with these people. But I'm wondering, like, when you have newer or more unknown talent in your films, how do you go about it? What sort of, don't get me wrong, what turns you on with an actor, good acting?
It's a very good question. First of all, I hate the casting process, so I skip it as much as I can, and I write for people I know as much as I can. But for example, when I shot Memory, the daughter of Jessica, she's a newcomer, she's 13 years old. So there was no other way than to just do exhausting casting. I have a great casting director that Fernando worked with too in Olmo, now Susan Shopmaker. So we saw many options, and at the end we were lucky to find one. But more than casting, I just meet them, and I try to vibe, and I'm against Zoom. It has to be in person, in a room. I hate Zoom, everything about it. I like people and contact. So I skip, when they're grown-ups, of course, it's again more about listening to them or seeing material that they shot before. And regarding what you say about Jessica and Tim, when I'm asked, who do you dream to work with? Who do you really want to work with? With Jessica and Tim, and Hernan Mendoza from After Lucia. I feel like going back to my actors, you know? Not, I don't have a list of people that I would, but then, of course, sometimes I meet someone, or Rupert Friend. Now I would really like to work with Rupert again on a more demanding role. But I try to skip the casting process. It's such a, you know, I learned also that sometimes there are actors that it's like pitching a movie. You become an expert on casting or on pitching a film. That doesn't mean that you're good on set. Yeah, it's like different, yeah. And I also like working with non-actors and mixing them with like in my film Dreams, the dancer had no experience acting. And he's with Jessica, you know, like at the same level, I hope.
But you had seen him in a film before, the dancer?
No. I saw him dancing. Actually, I saw him dance. He always says that it's not true, but I saw him on this 10,000 people show. I went with my mother that's sitting somewhere there. And before the show, we were sitting with 10,000 people waiting, And he came out and with a microphone, and he said, sorry to the audience. I never done this before, in Spanish, of course, but I just felt from the bottom of my heart that I wanted to thank you all for being here. And, you know, I'm very moved, and I know it's going to be a special night. And I was like, what a bullshit artist, you know? Like, he's cheating so much, because I looked around and people were already almost crying, like before the show, you know? He had them in his hand. I said, that's an actor, you know? And then he claims, he told me, no, it was really spontaneous. And his sister said, bullshit, I've seen you done that before.
Okay, thank you.
There, behind there.
Hi, good evening. I'm Agatha, and I think it's really refreshing that you want to get this system explode, and you don't need trucks and trailers and snacks, and it must be very freeing in a creative process. I am myself a festival producer rather, so I think as well that sometimes limousines and snacks are not really helping the creative process. But on the other hand, what really shocked me is that you said that you don't want to put up with the unions and people, but on the other hand, you're for it. So why do you think, as a director and an artist, you shouldn't be kind of bound by it? Because for me, it sounded a little bit hypocritical.
Well, first of all, I'm Mexican, so you know I'm not included. And Mexico is a very chaotic country, and we learn to improvise all the time on daily life. But when I'm asked if I'm part of any of these unions in the States, the answer is no. I'm not American, and I'm not living there, and I'll shoot some films there, but not most of my films. I think we need freedom. I think we need freedom to create. I think, again, rules that you self-impose. If I tell my cinematographer, let's make a Dogma 95 movie, then it's our decision. And anyway, most of the rules that have to do with unions, I respect them anyway. I'm very lazy. I don't like shooting more than 12 hours a day, you know, because I want to go to sleep too. And I get tired, you know. And so on, you know, and I want an hour to stop and eat because I need it. But if on a specific day we can't break to eat 1 hour and we need to do 30 minutes, can I just talk to the crew, or should that be a union matter and you get reported? It's crazy. It's like a fascist system, you know?
All right.
Yeah, firstly, it's very refreshing to listen to your pragmatic and practical approach. My question is about the box office. So when you are like in the process of filming the movie, how big is it a consideration about the break even or the profit, or do you redo some stuff so that it's going to cater to more audience and appeal to more people? So how is that in the background of your mind?
The box office, huh? That's a real tyranny, yeah. That's a few years ago, it was still people going to the theater, and like I said, after Lucia sold 1 million tickets, and when my movies were not so successful in Mexico, still they would sell 400,000 tickets or 300. I've always had an audience in Mexico, but after COVID, we all know the score, and it's all changing, and it kills me. The idea to go directly to streaming, it's so sad, because I don't do TV. The way I shoot, and when you see in this beautiful massive screen at the competition, the films, you see everything, and you see the performances, and that's what filmmaking should be. But it's the tyranny of the box office or of the streamers that's even worse. But that's the economy. That's why the only clever thing that one can do is to shoot the films for the smaller possible amount of money. I find it ridiculous. So many directors are proud of saying, I'm making my next movie, but this one is big, it's $10 million. Like, tell me if it's interesting. Don't tell me it's big, it's $10 million. In that way, I sympathize a lot with the brutalists, with what Brady did. Everyone says it looks massive, and he did it for a smaller amount of money. Brilliant, you know.
Thank you. So regarding to the things you said about making it as small as possible with
Of making what?
as small as possible with 6 people or 8 people or maybe no budget at all. In the last 2 years, I worked on 2 products, not as a director, but like as a crew member. And we made like 2 feature films, almost with no budget. But the question is what happens afterwards, because the films kind of right now sit on the hardware, and how do they find their audience?
Yeah, that's the thing. And also when we started making movies 20 years ago or 15 years ago, whatever, less movies were being done. So now there's many more movies. All the selection committees of festivals say now we receive like 5 times the amount of movies we received before. I don't know. I think you have to do something very special and radical. But that's why I think if you shoot a movie the way everyone else shoots a movie, like not pushing the language of cinema in an interesting way, and you're just cutting in a traditional way, you are limiting the possibilities of being successful. I think you need to be 10 times more clever than before into finding a new language, so to speak. And actually, that's why Lars von Trier was so fantastic. He was always pushing, like the Nouvelle Vague and like the Italians did in the 60s, always pushing the language of cinema. And nowadays, everything looks like TV. So the only thing I can say is be radical. Do something different. Like when the Blair Witch came out, I don't like the movie, but at least it was like something different.
Yeah, there's something about films that the platforms and the television are doing something they're doing like a censorship, no? So, and everything is like the same. I read an article, it was like the Netflix shine, no? It's like the look of the film. And if you see the films or the TV series, they are like the same. And they are trying to avoid silence. They're trying to put a lot of music. They're trying to put a lot of things. So what are you going to do? But at the same time, don't worry about it. Make the film and do it in a very, in your way.
And never make a decision thinking that will make it more commercial, because then it won't be more commercial and it won't be what you wanted to make. So just do your thing. Yeah.
Thank you.
There's someone there in the back.
Here? Hello? I'm up.
Yeah.
I'm
Hey,
up.
hello.
Good evening.
Hola.
First of all, thank you so much. Every single answer of yours has been not just so inspiring, but it also builds up, the drive, the confidence that you can do it. And your whole motivation just grows tremendously. I would like to ask if you could summarize what would be the 3 or maybe just a few skills that are the most important to be a great film director.
I remember an interview of Herzog where they asked him, what would be your advice to young directors? And he said, read. And you know Herzog, and he kept saying read like for 5 minutes, read. He made his point, read, So I think, like go deep into yourself and into culture, and I think also Herzog, he has a film school and he sends them to walk, no? Walk the earth or something. But in a serious way, all I can say is do short films or do a feature film and I remember once a film director, a friend of mine, we're now friends, we were we had just met, he brought me 3 scripts. And he said, I want you to produce one of these films. They're both terrific. He was very confident. And I told him, look, they're all genre movies, so I'm not going to produce any of them. But my only advice is, why are you, if the 3 of them are great, you should produce yourself the 3 of them. And I wasn't patronizing him, and he did it. He shot the 3 movies. Like, an actor is never saying, what is the one role I'm going to make? Like, if you're a film director, you have to make the first and the second and the third and keep pushing and pushing and not stopping and not looking behind. It's hard because then you need to pay the rent and all that. So it's better to start when you're young and to really go all in.
I would add something. Michel Franco is one of the persons that you can see in the Cineteca, in the film house in Mexico City all the weekends, and he was like, I don't work during weekends. I go to the cinema. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's true what you're saying. I love watching good films on a big screen. It's the only way. So the classics at the Cinematheque in Mexico, I go every weekend once or twice to see. Only on weekends, because if not, it takes an hour and a half to cross the city.
You live far from the Cineteca.
Yeah. But yeah, like enjoy film. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you again.
Michel,
And thanks,
thank you very
Fernando,
much
for doing this.
No,
and
thank you.
Tobias.
Thank you very much,
and
Tobias.
everyone.
Thank you very much
It was
to everybody.